I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much, and welcome to the show. I am your host, Dano. You guys, tonight I got a great guest. I got someone you may recognize. If you follow the Old Line Cryptids, I got none other than Milkman, a.k.a. John Yarrington, on tonight. And he's going to get into a couple encounters, one being Bigfoot, another one, a possible Dogman encounter in West Virginia back in 2022. So you guys, before we get into the show, I just want to say thank you so much for all the support that you show this channel. You guys, this channel is growing and growing and growing, and I can't thank you enough. Just let you guys know, unfortunately, I have not heard back from our last giveaway winner. So starting today, 6/25/25, and I'm going to announce this on the live. I'm going to do a live right after this. But from June 25th of 2025 to July 25th, 2025, I will be holding another giveaway. And it's again for a hat just like this. All you got to do is to get your name entered in this giveaway is become a member of the Cryptid Crew, which is a membership to the Cryptid Podcast. It's $2.99. And with that membership, you get your name entered in for a hat like this. Also, you get exclusive early access to a Saturday show, which I drop once a month. So again, $2.99 gets you membership, also gets you into a drawing for a hat like this, and you get an early access to a Saturday show that I drop. So you guys, without any further ado, I'm bringing on the one, the only Milkman, a.k.a. Jeff Yarrington. Jeff, my guy, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
Well, over here beating the heat.
Oh, man, I'm telling you right now, it was hot here in Minnesota. A lot of people don't understand it. Minnesota, we call it the land of the extreme because we have crazy hot summer sometimes. But
you guys do.
Let's see, 2 years ago, I think for a low during the winter, actually not a low, for a high during the winter, I think we had a day or 2 days it was like 22 below zero, and that was a high. So yeah.
You ever had a 90-degree day in the summer or in the winter? I'm sorry.
No, have not had a 90-degree.
We've experienced that here.
The last 2 winters here in Minnesota have been kind of mild, believe it or not. I think there was 1 year, not last year, or it might have been last year, and or the year before, we did not have a white Christmas. And my wife was depressed at that, and I was like, "Yes, no snow."
One time I was wearing shorts.
Oh, there was one hunting season.
On Christmas Eve, I was wearing shorts. That's how hot it was.
I know there was one opening season for deer season. I was sitting up in the deer stand wearing a pair of shorts, t-shirt, and my blaze orange vest and a hat, sitting up there just waiting.
There have been a couple times during December when because ours starts right after Thanksgiving for our gun season. I'm like, man, it's too hot to even have a sweatshirt on this morning.
Yeah,
like I'm just like draping my vest over my long sleeve shirt, open for the vest.
Absolutely. So I was on your guys' show, and I'm gonna tell you now, I had a blast being on your guys' show. It was a live show, and even this right here is, of course, going to be pre-recorded. I'm playing around with the idea of doing a live show once in a while.
Yeah, I just want to doing some of the weekends right now, right?
Well, every Saturday I do a live stream.
Yeah, you do a live stream Saturdays.
Yeah, I love doing them. So much fun. I love interacting with all the listeners that jump in. It's great. I got a great community growing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I have listeners that jump into your chat.
Yeah.
And I have guys, people from your chat jumping into my chat.
Yeah.
So, it's a big community, but it's a small family, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's funny because we have there's a lot of familiar faces on both sides, and it's just it's so hard to keep track of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I'm moderating on at least 3 or 4 channels, and some nights they're all on at the same time, and I'm bouncing around
Yep.
trying to keep up with it. But man,
Yeah.
it has just been a wild ride since last year when we got started.
Oh, dude, I know. Here's the thing. I started this channel in October of 2024. October the 18th. Okay. I dropped my first episode. Now I had a video on there, just welcome everybody to the Cryptid Podcast. But my first interview I dropped, I want to say like the first week of November. And here it is, pretty much the last week of June.
Yeah.
7 months later, and I've got over 3,000 subscribers. You know, it I get emails and, just great comments, meet amazing people, and I'm loving going on other podcasts and just chatting with those people, and, it's a big network type thing, but I'm also learning so much stuff, not just within the cryptid world. I'm learning new things about how to put on a better podcast
Uh-huh.
and things like that. So, and I found you guys probably about 2 months after I started my podcast, and I just kinda stayed in the shadows
Yeah.
and watched the content and just
Yeah.
really watched how you guys work and studied you guys. And I was like, "Man, I love how these guys just flow." I just love the whole flow of everything, how interactive they are with the chat, how they interacted with their guests, and I was like, "Man, this is another podcast I kinda wanna take bits and pieces from and kinda
Yeah.
encompass it into mine."
Well, the
So,
funny thing about it is, we hadn't been doing it much longer than you had. I
yeah.
mean, we probably started like March or April,
Mhm.
and we got into it. Jerry and I actually met through the Woodwalkers podcast.
I've never watched that one, I need to.
Yeah, that's the one that Greg House, Spencer Jameson, and Misty Haynes.
Yeah. I know Spencer,
And
I chat with Spencer every now and again.
yeah,
I
well, I
like
talk to
Spencer a lot.
Greg almost every day,
Yeah. I'm
and
like that with Josh.
yeah, the funny thing is, Jerry and I grew up 5 miles from each other, had no clue where either one of us,
Yeah.
we all knew the same people. He had relatives that used to work over here on the farm that I live on next to our home place.
Yeah.
He had cousins that worked here for the old owners. Like they used to hunt with my family, so we all knew
Yeah.
the same people. We just had no clue.
Small world, man. That's what
Yeah,
you can't
and
deny.
then I just broke down one day and I told Spencer, "All right, I'll come on and talk about my experience." There
Yeah,
might have
for
been a
sure.
little liquid encouragement.
Yeah.
And
So
he got right back to me and hit me up and said, "Hey, come on, talk about it." Now
Yeah.
here we are. So
hey, Jeff, I'm really intrigued, with your encounters and, like I said before, please don't tell me everything about him because I want to hear him for the first time.
yeah,
And so let's go ahead and jump into your
yep,
Bigfoot encounter. What I'll do is I'll just ISO the camera on you and just let you get to telling.
all
And
right.
then from your Bigfoot one, just go ahead and jump into your possible Dogman encounter.
Well, there's a lot of Bigfoot stuff kind of in between
Yeah.
what happened to me in '08 and some stuff that I think might have happened before, but I can kind of touch on the majority of that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna
'Cause I tell you, when you get into this
Mhm.
and once something happens to you and you start thinking, there's other things that start clicking up here.
Oh, trust me, I know. So
Yeah.
let's get the camera on you and
All right.
let's hear your encounters.
So in '08, a friend of mine and I were working on a deer stand after dark, typical stupid teenagers, not thinking. We went out. It was probably about 9 o'clock at night. We had the world's dimmest flashlight and a handsaw. I had actually driven the tractor out there to work on this, and what happened was we had parked the tractor out in the field, and I think we left it running, but I'm not real sure. We got out and we hiked back into the woods about probably maybe 50, 60 yards up in there to the stand, and started sawing on this log that was kind of leaning over. It actually broke. It was more of a limb than a log, I guess. It wasn't that big around, but it was big enough we needed to saw it off to get it off of there. And it was actually leaning on the stand railing. So while we're trying to get this thing yanked off of there, I started hearing a scream. And when I mean a scream, it was the most god awful, longest thing I've ever heard, and it's still hard for me to explain it to this day. It sounded like the Ohio howl. That's about the best way I can describe it. And we got within a few minutes of getting that tree done, and I can still hearing it. And I just finally said, "Hey, who's out there? Quit messing with us." Thinking it was pretty much neighbor, somebody messing with us, trespassing or whatever. So I started cussing at him. And when I did that, the whole woods just stopped. And within about 30 seconds, I'm getting screamed at again, but now it's 40 yards at least. It's done closed the gap. And when it started out, it was probably 100 yards out. Well, now it's right there basically in my face, and I can't see it. And I've got this flashlight, and I'm trying to shine it around, but that flashlight was so dim, I would have been better off using a lantern from the 1800s. It just kept screaming, and every when you can feel something going through you just with the vibration of what this thing was putting off at me, it was I've never experienced anything like that in my life. It was a very eye-opening encounter, and we're still getting yelled at. My buddy's behind me. It had stopped at this point, and he goes, "All right, I don't know what it is, but we need to back out of here." Now, between the two of us, he's hunted more places than I have, but I mean, we've both hunted bears. We've been in close proximity to mountain lions and other stuff. And I've even gotten, I've had several moose encounters up in Maine where they could have charged me, but nothing I ever dealt with prepared me for that. And what happened next was we had started backing up, and as we're backing up, I'm just trying to keep my eyes towards it with the light. I still can't see it. And about that time, it screams again. And I yelled, "F this," and I turned and took off I just left the light there. I'm pretty sure he dropped the saw, and we sprinted for that tractor. And I got to the tractor first and threw it in gear, turned all the lights on, tore off across that field, and he actually had to run next to me to jump onto the ladder to the steps to get on, because I was getting out of there, and he might have cussed me out over that, but we're still friends. And we were going so hard when I hit that knoll that I actually jumped it with the tractor. So after we got back across the field, I mean, I'd never driven that fast in a tractor before in my life. I power slid it into my grandfather's yard, and I just threw it in the park, got out, and we ran into his house. And my grandfather lived on this farm for 93 years out of the 100-some years that this farm's been in existence. And I know he's had encounters, but he would never talk about it to me. And he actually found tracks back in the 70s. And that night when we walked in there and shut the door, he said, "What's wrong with you boys?" And I said, "Something screamed at us and chased us out of there working on that deer stand." And he goes, "Well, you remember those tracks I found?" And that was pretty much where he had left it. He never really brought it up much after that, but he was always weird about us being out after dark. It seemed to bother him a good bit. And after that, I started, looking into the noises and sounds and stuff, and that was when we came up with the only thing we could figure was close enough to was the Ohio howl. And I'd always been interested in it since I was, probably 10 years old, but I just never thought that there was one anywhere near here. Not in the East Coast, especially not in this state. And after that, I started putting things together that we probably had a little more going on around here than I thought we did. Now, remember one time, a few years before that, we had walked back from the neighbors because my buddy's uncle owned the nursing home next door, and he ran his truck out of gas over there during deer season, and we walked back across to the farm to go get a gas can. And as we were walking over, we got onto the main blacktop that goes past my house. It ends up dead ending into the home place. And when I got partially up the road, there was about 3 or 4 of us. We heard something get onto the road behind us, and it sounded like it was on 2 legs, and you could just hear flat feet slapping the asphalt as it ran up the road behind us, and we took off. We never did see what it was, but we sure as hell heard it. And I heard that, the whoops and the knocks and stuff over the years, but I never really put it together. And then after I got back into doing this, I actually opened up about it and I started doing the podcast last year. I had gone out. I had gone out to turkey hunt in Western Maryland. And that was where I saw my first track. Probably, I didn't have a measuring tape with me, but I put it up next to my size 11, and it was probably about 16, 18 inches. And it was actually overlooking the camp where we were staying at. It was turkey season. And I also heard some mimics that night, which was a quite a interesting experience. Laying in your hammock and you can hear what sounds like my friend snoring, but the snoring is coming directly across from me. He's over here. My other buddy's over here. We're all anchored off the same tree in hammocks. And every time he would snore, I would hear that mimic right in front of me. And it kept doing that until I finally got curious as to what it was, and I tried to stick my headlamp out to see what it was, and it must have heard me shuffling to get the zipper open, and it just took off. I didn't hear it leave, but it didn't make any more noise after that. And I found an X there the next morning. And this was just we were just out hunting. We weren't out there doing anything else. Fast forward to this year, we were in that same place, and I saw this strange flash of light back in the woods one night. No one else was camped out there. I had the thermal, checked everything, couldn't find nothing. Following night, I get gibberish when I wake up in the middle of the night. I could hear it over by the campfire, and no one was awake. You could hear it coming from both sides of the camp, basically. And I woke up and had to get out to relieve myself. And when I got up, I said, I'm not messing with you. I just got to get up to pee, and I'm going to go back to bed. And after I did that, it quieted down for a few minutes, and as soon as I was starting to doze off, I heard them gibbering again. But I don't ever go out trying to look for anything. It just seems to find me. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff I probably forgot about that's happened, but the biggest one besides that, I had a encounter with something in 22 in West Virginia. And West Virginia was the creepiest one, because I don't think that was a Bigfoot or a bear or a mountain lion or anything like that. Just the feeling I got off of that one just screamed something malevolent, like a dog man. Whatever it was waiting for me to screw up. We were turkey hunting about 3 miles into this area of the Monongahela in West Virginia called Green Mountain. And I had gone off by myself. My other two buddies went the other direction. I was more hunting in the lower section. And I got part of the way up this side of this little ridge. I was going to try to get up on the flat and get up there and see if I could find any turkey sign. And I got almost to this little group of boulders that I needed to go through to get up top. And what ended up happening, I got almost to where I had to go, and there was a blind spot going around these rocks, and I just kept thinking to myself, that looks like an ambush spot. And the closer I got to it, the harder it was for me to get my legs to move. And normally when I'm hunting, I don't stop for anything. But this time, I just could not make myself go. Something told me that if you go around that rock, you're going to be in trouble. And I flipped the safety off of that Beretta 12, and I reached down and unstrapped my 38, and I just started walking backwards with my gun trained on that rock. And I did that for about 100 yards before I felt like I was all right to turn around and get down the hill. And it was just creepy. That was about the second day we were there. We got there the night before, And nothing else ever really happened that week, but I did have one of my friends that was there had some rocks thrown into the creek next to him while he was trout fishing by himself. He was convinced it was us, but he came back and realized that we had been setting back at camp splitting firewood, and he come down the trail with his Ruger in one hand and his fishing pole in the other, looking back down the trail and looking at me going, "You been here the whole time?" "Yeah, we never left." And he's like, "Well, something was throwing rocks out there." I looked at him and I said, "You know what it was?" He's like, "Yeah, I know." And there's another time here. I was deer hunting and I was convinced I had one looking at me. And I never saw anything, but I did have I did get a feeling that something was looking at me. I couldn't see it, and I didn't know what it was up to. So I just made the point to set that big old rifle up on the shooting rail. And sometimes, I know this sounds crazy, but if I think there's one around, I'll talk to it in my head. And I'll say, "You just might want to get on out of here before we have a problem." And I did that, and it just went away. The woods went back to normal. Everything was fine. And that's, pretty much all of it. I mean, there's other things that pop into my head occasionally, but that's the majority of my, more important ones. But
You
I
know,
mean, living on this farm all my years, there's been stuff I've heard that I couldn't tell you that's what it was, but I don't really think it was anything else.
yeah, when you live on an area, you live in an area, you live on a farm, you live on some property, and you know, not just you living there, but maybe someone in your family's lived there, and
Yeah,
then you've spent a lot of time there, and then you eventually bought the place or whatever,
yeah,
whatever the circumstances was, there's no doubt, especially your grandfather's farm, which is the one you're working now, correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And
so
this property next to it where I live has been here just as long.
you're looking at generational farm.
Yeah,
You're looking
yeah,
at, 1, 2, 3 generations of your family working this land. And, your grandfather knew something was out there. And so you're gonna hear things.
yeah,
And I imagine it's like you're out working the land, working with the cows or whatnot, and you hear something and you just kind of blow it off because it's like the everyday thing now.
yeah,
You've heard it so many times, so often. But I was writing down some questions while I was off camera.
yeah.
Um, so when you and your friend were out at the deer stand and you guys heard that scream, about how far away can you guess, or would you guess, that scream
I'm
originated?
thinking 100 yards.
Wow.
Just the first time we heard it.
And so you're saying it progressively got closer to you
Yes.
until it chased you guys out.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually ran after us. We never heard it, but I mean, it was throwing a fit the entire time we were running out of there. And the thing about it was, I'm not convinced that the first yell that we got, I'm not convinced it was the same one, because either that thing teleported over to that 40 yards, or it was the quietest thing I've ever heard, because it's like it yells 30 seconds later, there's one screaming in my face.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think about it this way. You've got pro athletes that are running
Yeah.
a 40-yard dash
Yeah.
in like 3 seconds. 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Probably not 3
Yeah.
seconds.
I'm
But
convinced there was more than one there too.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I
Yeah.
also wouldn't doubt the fact that you're
It
saying
could have covered it. It could have covered it.
easily in 30 seconds. It
Yeah.
could have probably ran all the way to the farm and back in 30 seconds. Like, for real. If it is as fast as people say that it is and that they have seen, I wouldn't put it past it. So your grandfather had lived on there, like you said, 93 years
Yeah,
in
he
the
just passed
70s.
last January.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Um, it's rough when you lose someone that prominent in your life. Um, I know that feeling, so my sympathies are with you and your family, and you know, but you said that in the 70s he found some tracks, and you said he never really talked about it. Do you think that he definitely had more encounters than what you think he did? Not
Oh
only
yeah.
not just hearing it, but do you think he might have had any visuals other than a track, like an actual
Yeah.
sighting of whatever was in those woods?
I'm pretty sure he did because there were some times I'd be trying to talk to him about it and he would just change the subject.
Okay.
And he definitely would get worried about us being back there after dark, especially certain times of the year.
Yeah. Did you ever see anything on that farm? Not just when you were a kid, not just, when you're a teenager, but even now as you work that farm every day, I imagine 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Um, have you seen anything?
So I'm still not 100% sure what this was because I've also seen ghosts and stuff.
Mhm.
So one morning I think I was like 15. It was snowing and we had to go out to the barn to milk and I was walking across the yard at my mom and dad's when I was still living there. And there was, how snow weights down all the tree branches and stuff.
Mhm.
So I had checked on some calves that were out front and I had walked back around the house. And there were some low hanging branches. And as I was ducking underneath this branch, I happened to look out towards one of our feedlots where the breeding age heifers are locked up at. There's a set of big metal headlocks that go down,
Mhm.
and right at the end of that thing, I saw what looked like I thought it was either like an apparition or a ghost. I could just see like a big figure,
Mhm.
and for years I chalked it up as I just saw a ghost or something because I used to experience that kind of stuff around the farm. Things would move in the parlor. You'd feel a presence of somebody stepping down into the barn with you. You know how old metal grates and stuff are. You can
Yep.
feel when the weight shifts if someone else is in there. And I would feel that all the time. So I just figured maybe I just related it back to my great grandfather.
Right.
But over the years, I got to think, that shadow that I saw was definitely taller than those lockups.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking probably in the 8-foot range. And I'm like, maybe I did see one.
Yeah. And it's a good possibility. I mean,
Yeah.
because you think about it, if they're in and around that area every single day or, more times than not,
Mm-hmm.
you're a constant presence. They're going to get used to your presence being there. They may get comfortable with because, dude, they're watchers. They're going to watch
Yeah.
everything that we do. They're going to study everything that we do. And if you consistently make a pattern of whatever you're doing day in and day out, they're going to know what that pattern is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a good possibility that you were following one of your normal patterns
Uh-huh.
and it came out to those headlocks for whatever reason, and then all of a sudden you decided to switch up your pattern just a little bit.
And I normally didn't do that time of the morning. It was just because of the weather.
Yeah. So it's a good possibility you
Yeah.
did see one. Now, after you saw this, oh, I'm sorry, man. I'm fighting jet lag like you would not believe. If you After you saw these, did you go down there and see anything like a disturbance in the
I didn't
ground or?
even thought never crossed my mind to even go look.
Well, I mean, again, you said you were about 15, you
Yeah.
know. So I mean, so now let's switch gears over to when you were turkey hunting in Maryland. You know, you said you found those tracks, and
Yeah, I should have sent that to you. I have them. I
oh,
have
do
them
you?
somewhere in one of my folders.
Oh, I send them my way anyway because I'll probably
Yeah.
when I do a live, you know, like my Saturday night live streams, I like showing pictures and stuff that people send me to
Yeah.
the chat and
I
stuff like
only
that.
have one though because my phone died
Yeah.
while I was trapped.
Yeah. I mean things like that happen all the time. But let me ask you, so you said that you found those tracks 16 to 18 inches long, and you said they were overlooking your
Where we were
camp.
camped.
Really?
Yeah.
And were those the only tracks, or did you see multiple tracks around?
So that was the only one that one particular one was the only one that I could really, get like a good look at because it kind of screwed up where it stepped.
Okay.
And it was a softer spot than kind of the rest of the ground. It wasn't real soft by any means. I mean, it didn't go into the ground that far,
Right.
but my foot wouldn't even leave a track next to it.
Wow.
You know.
Yeah. Send me that when you can.
Yeah.
And
And
then go ahead.
the ground was so dry that you could still see the indentions in the leaves from where it had walked.
Mm.
And I followed that for probably 100 some yards up the ridge and started getting into some hairy areas up there. And I said, I'm by myself. I probably don't want to keep walking up on in here. So I turned around and went back down.
See, I would love to go out and experience that for myself.
Yeah.
Just to see, because I've seen a lot of prints and, people send me like, "Oh, yeah, I found this print last winter. Here's my boot." You could tell the way the dirt looks that it's frozen, like
Yeah.
almost frozen solid. Yet there's an indentation in the dirt about that deep, and
That's
then here,
about how far this one was. It was
yeah.
like that.
And then the person is, they'll send me a video of them stomping on the ground next to something, and it's not even leaving a mark. And it just shows you how heavy these things are,
Yeah.
When they're moving around. Still at the hunt at the camp, you said you heard mimic, and then you went into detail about your friend snoring, and then you would hear your friend
Yeah.
snoring. Were there any other things that you heard? Now, some people think that mimics are different than Bigfoot. I tend to believe Bigfoot are
I think
amazing mimics.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, I think they're amazing mimics.
I've
So
heard them do a blue heron.
really, I've never heard owl is a big
Unless
one
you
I've
can
heard.
tell me why there were 3 blue herons surrounding me next to the barn one morning while I was putting the cows in.
Yeah, that's just for you on your daily. Honestly, what I would do, Jeff, is I would have a recorder on me, like
Man,
legit.
I would like go nuts if I was running one of them things all the time.
Man, I'm telling you, just imagine the things, or put them out in certain places on your property, and like, let me ask you, do you think they come out to your barn at all?
They might get close to it, but like they might stay like on the outer perimeters, but I don't think they would actually like come up into the buildings.
No, I'm not talking about coming into the building. I'm talking about walking around outside the building.
Yeah,
You think?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean that where I heard those herons was right off the manure pit.
Oh man,
And the manure
telling
pit's
you,
attached to the freestall barn. Yeah.
wow.
Also saw a mountain lion walk across the backside of that one night or one morning, and my dad forgot to tell me that he's seen the dogs chase it that morning. And
Mm.
Fish and Game will still swear that we do not have any cougars in the state of Maryland.
Yep. Just like down in Florida, they say there's no panthers out there. Down in Louisiana, they say there's no panthers down there. There's a few other states that said there's no way there's a cougar, a panther, a mountain lion, and yet people see them. I think Arkansas is another one. Oh, there's no
Yeah.
big cats in Arkansas. Yeah, there is, and I know like 4 people
Yeah.
personally
They said
that
the
would.
same thing in West Virginia, that there weren't mountain lions in West Virginia.
Yeah,
And there was one killing my buddy's cousin's sheep.
did
He
they?
actually he told the game warden, he's like, all right, well, if you don't believe me, you can come pick it up tomorrow morning.
Oh, so he did take it out.
Now he was going to
Oh,
until the warden was like, oh, okay, we'll come. He made the warden sleep at his house.
oh, nice.
He's like, either you stay here tonight or it'll be waiting for you when you come to pick it up tomorrow.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was going to
That's
take
awesome.
it out.
So let me ask you. So you said you found an X.
Yeah,
And about how far was that away from your camp?
30 yards.
Man.
Right across the little hiking trail where we were camped at.
Yeah. What do you think that X means? What do you think it signifies?
You know, I'm still learning on the sticks and stuff, but I think I guess it's some sort of marker. I don't know if it necessarily means don't go there, because
Yeah.
I've found stuff like that here. And I'm here all the time and nothing's ever messed with me. You
Yeah.
know, except for the one time I got yelled at.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. What do you do with that?
I will say that I have found, the stick structures, and I haven't found a lot of crazy stuff, but there was a guy that I know that's in the county next door that where he goes to research is in a peninsula that goes out. It's like a 3,700 acre state forest.
Right.
And then it's out on this big peninsula, and there's a dump that borders it. And he's actually found like the nests where they've woven it.
That's
Like the little, like almost like a little bassinet for a kid, or
yeah.
like
I mean, that's I've always wanted to find things like that as well.
I actually
And
got to see the remnants of it. It had been there for several years, but you
really,
could still see part of it, like how it was all intricately woven.
yeah, I definitely want to find something like that.
But
I
why
think
would anybody walk out in the middle of a state forest and just start weaving a basket in the wood?
I don't think anybody I
Yeah.
don't think anybody would. Um I I wouldn't put it past someone doing,
Yeah.
but why?
Another
know?
thing that intrigues me is, I don't know if you ever heard about, people finding like blue, like anything the color
Yep.
blue.
Yep.
I've found that.
Where was it and what did you find?
It was actually out where I found the best, where he'd show me that little nest.
Mhm.
And it was a mylar balloon, and there's a dump right next door, but the dump's far enough away from where we were finding this stuff in the woods that
Mhm.
there's no way that it just floated over there.
Mhm.
And it also didn't tie itself to a stick.
Yeah.
So
Um
that's one of the interesting things there. And I found an egg. It looked like a duck egg
mhm.
right where I found that balloon. And it looked like something had literally stuck its thumb into the end of that egg and sucked the yolk out.
Ye-
Uh-huh.
Bro,
Yeah.
I've that's crazy. Now it's funny
Yeah.
you mentioned blue because when I had my sighting, when I was 12,
Yeah.
and we had, of course, my dad gave them food, and there'd be times, we would do it. They would return something. And one of the things, and I wish I still had it because I had it for a long time, was a blue marble. It was a blue, like a solid, like a cobalt blue,
Yeah.
almost cobalt blue marble. And I kept it in a jar, a baby food jar, for the longest time.
Yeah.
Where are they coming up with these things? Maybe they're just attracted to blue for whatever reason. I really don't know, and I don't know the
Yeah.
message behind it, but I find it really fascinating that
It's funny because my friend Greg House in Alabama, he's found them on his truck before, and he didn't know what they were, so he just threw them off of the bushes because
yeah,
he had no clue that's what the was sitting on the truck.
yeah, we're
They're
blue
leaving
marbles.
rocks on the truck.
Yeah. So, I got a couple more questions. This is still around the same area of you turkey hunting. You said in 2025, so this year,
Yeah.
you saw a flash of light, and then you heard some gibber. So, describe the light. Like, was it like a flashlight? Was it
So it looked like a real high powered, like an LED flashlight. Like you just kind of went like this, clicked it on, clicked it off.
okay?
And I saw it it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting there talking to my buddies, and they're facing me. I'm facing the ridge.
Hmm.
And I see it about halfway up the ridge. And I know it couldn't have been anybody because one, I had my AGM thermal
Hmm.
sitting there. The other one, there ain't no way anybody could have been messing around on that section of that mountain, that ridge line, without having a flashlight and holding on to a damn tree to climb up that section because my fat butt can barely get up that part without a headlamp.
Right.
You couldn't get up there without making a ruckus. It'd be nearly impossible. We were only 100 yards from it.
Right.
So if somebody had been up there, we would have known.
Yeah, you could have heard it,
It,
especially
it
at night.
wasn't it wasn't an easy area to traverse, especially in the dark. You should have watched how long it took those two to get up in the morning to go hunt the other ridge.
I can
It'd take them
imagine.
45 minutes, zigzagging up along that thing.
Yeah.
And I could just watch their light. And then I could take a nice leisurely walk down the other way to where I was going.
Right. Yeah. And then my last question is 2022 West Virginia. Let me ask you this. What makes you think it was a potentially, other than the feeling of malevolence,
Yeah.
what other feeling or what other thought would bring you to the conclusion it could possibly be a dog man?
I got that. And I've experienced a lot. I mean, I deal with livestock and large animals and stuff on a regular basis. This was a predator.
Mm.
And it it gave me a feeling like nothing I've ever experienced. I mean, I've experienced Bigfoot and all this other stuff. I never felt this level of creepiness. Like whatever this thing was, it it was it was evil.
And did it give you it? Did you hear it move around you, or was it just the thought that once you entered a certain area when you were going up that ridge,
Yeah.
that you're like you kind of you walked in through like an invisible barrier, so you
That's
were
what happened.
perfectly
I
okay.
hit a barrier.
Yep. Like so you walked perfectly fine, and all of a sudden you crossed a line somewhere, and you're like, okay, this does not feel right.
Something's not right.
Did you
And
feel? Did you feel that it was close?
oh yeah, I felt like it was right there in those rocks somewhere.
And then you just in your mind, you're like, listen, man, and I
And
could
it's
just imagine if you're up there, man. Listen, I don't want no issues. I'll go ahead and I'll leave.
exactly.
And
That's
yeah, that's crazy.
when you get a feeling like that, it's completely different from anything you've ever experienced. You're like, okay, we don't need to be going up here today.
Yeah.
And that area, Dan, it's got a high problem. There's been a lot of sightings up there,
Really?
especially in the Monongahela, Randolph, and Tucker counties in West Virginia. There's been a few people have actually gone missing in that same area.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get my feelers out. I got to get some more people from that area. Because the funny thing is, West Virginia, my mom's family's from West Virginia. I still have kin that live up in West Virginia.
Yeah.
My mom's family's from Huntington, West Virginia. I have family that, if they still do, Milton, West Virginia. My grandfather,
Yeah.
my mom's biological dad, I think had Airbnb or a bed and breakfast up in Beaver, West Virginia. And that's the kind of area I'd like to definitely go check
Yeah.
out as well sometime. So
I got several. I know several people in West Virginia, and a couple of them I met through woodwalkers. He's retired, he's moving back up from North Carolina back to his place in West Virginia. We're going to try to go poke around some out there. And
yeah,
he knows some people up there that have Bigfoot activity
yeah,
not far from his place. Now, the one thing I wanted to say, last year I actually had something happen back here, and see, like I said, once in a while I'm like, oh yeah, forgot about that particular incident.
right.
We shot couple deer one night. My friend was bow hunting. The same guy was with me when I got ran out,
Mm-hmm.
and he shot 2 does, and one of them ran across the cornfield and disappeared off in the woods. He got the first one and went down, recovered it. And he said, he's like, I'll text you when I get done. You can come help me get him out. And he said he went across the field and he tracked it down. He tracked it across the field. It went down into the woods. And this is one of the ones that still baffles me to this day. It went into the woods. It turned around. You could see the blood trail come back up out of the woods. Now, anybody that's ever tracked enough deer knows that when a deer is wounded, it is not going to turn around and go back up the wood. It's going to continue on towards the water source, or the easiest path for it to go.
Mm-hmm.
This deer turned around, came back up out of the woods. He followed the blood trail up to where it came back into the field. It turned, went down towards one of our other stands, and actually went back into the woods. And that's where things get interesting.
Why?
It looked like something the size of a refrigerator tackled this thing into the brush.
What do you mean? You saw
Like
it get tackled?
No, you could see the ground where it was tore up. Like when he got to where the last blood was, the ground was tore up, the bushes were tore up. There were chunks of blood up in the tree branches.
Did he recover the deer?
No. And this is where this gets interesting. So he calls me, and I could tell he was a little concerned when he called me. Normally, he's not. He's like, something's going on down here. I'm going to need your help. He's like, I just found he said, it looks like something attacked this thing in the bushes. And he still won't, he only talks to me about it. He won't talk to anybody else about it. But he calls me, and the first thing I did, I grab a shotgun and my revolver, load up and start heading, hopped on the side by side and flew down there. And I pull up to where he last found the blood, and I got out and went down there and started looking, and we're starting to track it. We got about 10 yards from where, all the disturbance was in the brush. Owls start.
An owl.
several owls.
Now, let me ask you, when the owls were hooting, did did it trail off or did it just abruptly end?
There were a couple trills, but not all of them had trills.
Okay, let me ask you, the ones that didn't have trails, was there a reply hoot from one that did trail off? So meaning what we think is a
Yeah.
Bigfoot because they're notorious, they're known to hoot like like an
Yeah.
owl, and their hoot does not have a trail like an actual owls do.
Yeah.
So when the Bigfoot hooted, did an owl reply with a hoot?
There was at least one or two owls that I actually heard that I could tell it was an owl,
Mhm.
but the other one, the volumes were wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking though is, if the Bigfoot hooted first, because you said as soon as you guys got to this area, you started hearing owls. So did you hear a Bigfoot hoot or an owl hoot first?
I
Like,
heard Bigfoot hoot first.
okay, so you heard the one that didn't trail off, and
Yeah.
then did an actual owl reply or respond to
I
that
did
first
hear
hoot?
an owl reply.
There you go. Okay, that's
But
what I want to know.
yeah, but the thing was, there were multiples.
Yeah.
You could hear multiple hoots that did not sound right, and then you could hear a few owls that responded, but it was definitely sounded like there was more non-trills
Mhm.
than there was with a trill.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever heard that before.
Oh, no, I have.
I
Oh,
thought you have. I couldn't
I have.
remember. Yeah.
Oh, I have. I've heard what we thought was an owl, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not an owl. And then shortly after, you hear an owl, and I go,
Yeah.
that's an owl.
Yeah, exactly.
But
It gets crazy. I mean, that like when we heard that, now I've heard owls and I've heard non-owls, but when I heard that, he looked at me and he goes, "I think we can leave this deer." Well,
so you guys never,
he's not the kind of guy to just give up on tracking one.
yeah.
When he looked at me and said, "I think the other one's good enough," I was like, "All right, let's get out of here." Went back and got the other deer. And the weird thing about that was those deer, there were still deer like out, like on that side of the field.
Mm-hmm.
There were deer like over by his stand. While we were cleaning the deer in the field, I'm watching does just standing in the woods looking at us.
Hmm.
And they all bedded down right there.
Hmm.
They were less concerned about the armed humans than they were about what was going on the other side of the field.
Yeah, that's definitely crazy, especially when, it's funny is that you've been out long enough, you can see, what, or you like to think, what the movements and what the how the animals, react, what the reactions
Yeah.
are. But when you see them do something completely, you've seen a deer, you've seen these deer do things hundreds of times over and over again, and that's something out of the ordinary. Just all of a sudden is they're like you said, they just bedded down real quick
Yeah.
as they're watching you doing this. And I, being a hunter, I know once you take a deer, whether it's a bow or muzzle loader or shotgun or rifle, nothing hangs around.
Yeah.
They don't hang around. They get out of the area, or they leave far enough to where they can still see you, but you can't see them.
Yeah. And I mean, these deer were within like 60 yards of me. They weren't even like,
Yeah, that's
and
crazy.
that field is also a spot where we found carcasses hanging from tree stands. Uh-huh.
What, and how high up are these tree stands?
Oh, they're 15-foot ladder stands.
And they're hanging from the tree stand.
They're hanging from the rungs, like at least 8 to 9 foot. It happened one time in 2 different stands. Same field.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it was like stripped of meat. The hide was still there, but you could tell that all the meat had been taken off. The majority of it. Jerry found one at his house hanging in a tree with both legs. I think it was either front legs or the back legs, but both of them were broke. And it was just a skeleton in a tree with 2 broken legs. Now, don't try to tell me that the deer got hit by a car and somehow got flung up into the tree on the back side of his property. Because that did not happen.
Now, did you guys? And I've heard this. It's not like it's a break like this. It's like a twist.
Twist.
Is that how these legs looked? Do you know?
I think that's what Jerry said they were. I don't remember if the ones that I found in the tree stands were like that, because it was back about the same time that I got yelled at that same year. I don't remember. I used to have pictures on one of my old phones. It literally looked like something took that thing and just laid it over the rung about 8, 9 foot up, like you would have put a jacket over the back of a chair.
Oh my goodness!
It's just like throwing a jacket over the back of a chair.
Yeah,
it's looked like it. That's what it looked like. This whatever it was did. And some of my friends were like, "Well, maybe it was the neighborhood crackhead that used to poach back there," but he wasn't gonna carry a damn carcass up a ladder and hang it on the damn tree stand.
No.
I mean, I had enough trouble climbing up there to get the damn things off of the stand.
Yeah.
And now we have some competition back there with some people hunting around. I don't know how many people have actually experienced stuff back there. I think a lot of people have, and they just won't say anything.
Yeah.
I have another friend of mine we've been hunting with for years. He hunts here every year, and he's with us when we go to the mountains. And he was on that West Virginia trip. And but he told me one morning he went deer hunting back here. He heard something whooping while it was walking. It would sound like it was moving as he was going down towards the stand.
Mm-hmm.
He could hear something moving through the woods whooping. And I'm like, now, Sam, what do you think it was? He's like, oh, I thought it was a bird or something. And I'm like, really?
No.
And then when you do hear weird bird noises, that's another one.
Oh, yeah.
Like my buddy Josh that was with me on a lot of this stuff, especially for the tree stand incident. He had a couple weeks ago, right up here across the line in Pennsylvania, state game lands. He was finding blue balloons while he was scouting for turkeys in the turkey season. And he had a weird sounding bird following him out one day. And he's like, man, I don't know what that was. But he was finding tree breaks and all sorts of stuff through there.
You know, it's really weird. It's really weird.
He's starting to lean more. I think he's getting open. He's opening up to it now.
Why wouldn't he? Because
the more shit he sees, he just won't talk to anybody but me about it.
Yeah, there's so many things that he's encountered. I don't know why he's not saying, okay, all right, I'm buying it. I'm in.
He buys it. He believes in them. He just has a tough time believing that they're here.
Has he seen one? Has he said he's seen one or no?
Not that I know of. But one day he was right at dark. He was back here getting dressed, changing his scent-free clothes out to get into his truck during bow season.
Mm-hmm.
And something in the brush right behind him started mumbling.
See,
he was half dressed.
This is
He
what it's going
shoved
to take.
all of his stuff in the back of the truck, threw his bow in the back seat, climbed into the truck half naked, and drove up to my barn.
See, it's going to take one just for, and this is what really
He believes
frightens.
in it. He just
But this is
doesn't
what
want anybody else but me to know that he.
this is what frightens me the most when you have encounters like this. This is what's going to happen. His name's Kevin, right?
Josh.
Josh or John?
Yeah. Josh.
Josh. This is going to take for Josh. Okay, Josh is going to be doing his thing. He's going to hear something. He's going to turn around to look, and he's going to see something just step out,
Yeah.
and then step back into the woods and be gone. That's what that's going to do to him. It's going to mess his mind up because he's heard it. He believes it's there, but he has that maybe that little bit of doubt. He has a hard time believing that they're here, and now and one of them's going to pick up on that type of body language, and it's going to step out, let him know that it's here, and it's going to be one of the most terrifying encounters that he's ever had. And all it is it's and it's going to last seconds. It's going to step out, probably show his teeth, probably make some type of like aggressive movement towards him, and then just disappear into the woods. And it's going to freak him out, and you're going to see your friend Josh turn into a different person.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
I know.
That's a possibility of it happening because I've heard stories of that. Oh, I don't believe. Oh, that's just a turkey, or that's just this, or that's just that. And next thing you know, that
me
person.
If he ever sees one, he hopes that it's from a distance in a vehicle, and that's what.
Yep, that's the best case scenario.
Now he's open to it, but our friend Sam, he always tries to. I think he's getting more and more open to it the more stuff he hears. Because for years he tried to be like, "Oh, you guys aren't hearing that." And then after a few times of him being around some of the stuff that I've encountered, he's like, that does sound weird. I think some people are just on their own planet, though. That's my that like Josh. I know he believes it because he's spent enough time in the woods like I have. And I mean, he's been up to Canada. He's hunted mountain lions, black bears, elk, all that, that kind of stuff. And he told me that the night we got screamed at, that thing made the biggest elk that he ever had bugling at him in his face sound like a toy.
Yeah.
There's
until you've actually encountered it, actually heard it, you're not going to understand the magnitude of how powerful how a scream is from one of these creatures until you've actually seen it, you've actually heard it, or you've actually felt it.
Vibration wise, it was like being in front of a train horn.
Yeah. Now, as an adult, I've never heard anything like that out and about. When I was a kid, I heard it, but didn't correlate it with being a Bigfoot because, again, when I first had my first two encounters, Bigfoot wasn't even in my vocabulary, But other than that, man, let me ask you this: what do you think? I already know what you think about Dogman, but what do you think about Bigfoot? Do you think that they're kind of like people in a sense that you'll get good ones on good days, you'll get good ones on bad days, and vice versa? Really?
I think that you get them depending on their mood.
Okay.
And I don't believe that they're just stupid apes. Or, I know they're flesh and blood, but there's definitely like a supernatural quality to them, but they're also flesh and blood. But I feel like maybe they're like, we haven't even begun to unlock the majority of our brains. These things probably have unlocked all of it. And
I would hate to imagine that. If any creature has the ability to unlock 100% of their brain, I don't think they'd be able to handle it. I think it would be so much for them. They would go crazy. They'd go insane. Um, do I think that there are creatures out there that use a more percentage of their brain? Yeah, dolphins do.
Yeah,
It's well documented. Dolphins. I think they say humans use what, like 10 to 12% of their brain capacity,
probably.
and then dolphins are like 20% or something like that. It's just crazy to think that there's another bipedal creature out there walking the planet that has the ability to possibly use more than 10 to
Yeah.
12% of their brain capacity.
I don't
That's
know if they're opening the whole thing, but they definitely used a lot of it.
yeah, honestly, I
You
think
just
that as
think
well.
about how well they can hide.
Oh yeah. They're the creatures, they're masters of their environment. I always say that. I'll never stop saying that. They are 100% masters of their environment. And whenever they're in a location, whatever that location is, they are the apex predator. So
They don't scare me and nearly as much as a dog man does.
no, I don't think I honestly, I don't think they do, with really anybody. Now I hear people say, "Oh, dogmen are not that bad. They're not evil. I've had good encounters with dogmen." Okay, and I'm not going to ever dispute that because I was never there. I don't know what their encounter was like. I just go by what they told me. I'm not going to dispute it. But I think if it ever came down to it, I think Bigfoot would trash a dogman.
Oh yeah,
So that's
one
just my
hundred
take.
percent. Because they're probably got more muscle mass, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they know how to use rudimentary tools. So he could probably grab a tree branch and proceed to
Beat the snot out of them.
yeah, exactly, like a
Well,
baseball bat.
I mean, you think about it. They've been known to throw rocks.
Yeah,
They've been known to throw rocks that are easily over 100 pounds. They've been known to throw logs, trees,
I've heard
branches.
rocks hit the water while we've been fishing at night,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
know it wasn't from you
A,
know
a fish jumping.
something dislodging itself from the bank or a
No.
fish jumping.
Yeah.
And
So,
you think about the distance that rock came to hit that water
hmm
at night, and that's the only reason I couldn't tell where it was coming from. But there's several places down here on the river. You
yeah.
go out there at night, you'll hear rocks hitting the water.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
100%.
Well, Jeff, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the
Yes.
show tonight. I appreciate it, man. And again, I love your guys' channel. You guys, seriously, if you want another good podcast to go check out, they talk about cryptids, the good old boys from Old Line Cryptids, check them out. They're a great group of guys. If you ever get in the chat during their live, tell them that Dano from the Cryptid Podcast sent you over, and show them some love, you guys. They're a really good group of guys, a great crew going on. Their chats
Yeah.
are really good. They got a good community going on. They got a good thing going on. So
I told a lot of people I was pre-recording with you tonight. They were excited.
awesome. Cool. I think I'm gonna have yours coming out. Well, I'll let you know when I have it going. I gotta look at my schedule. So,
Yeah.
but I usually I've got stuff scheduled out into the 18th of July. So
My
yours
birthday is actually on the 6th.
the 6th. Let's see. Can
Yeah.
I work the 6th? What day is that? Is that a Tuesday?
It is a
Work this
Sunday, I think.
Sunday. I don't do Sunday
Yeah, I
releases, man.
know.
So I might do, because I don't have I don't think I have a Saturday release. So I might do yours as a Saturday release. We'll see what we can do there. All right.
Yeah. And my birthday always gets overshadowed by the 4th.
Dude, my birthday's January 1st. So yeah, when I was young, it was awesome because I got Christmas presents, and then a week later I got birthday presents. And as I got older, I
You
got fewer
you got your
Christmas
birthday on
presents.
the biggest party day of the year.
Or actually, I call it the biggest hangover day of the year.
Yeah,
So
exactly. You're still trying to,
recoup.
recover from what happened last night.
Absolutely, man. So again, Jeff, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. If you
Yes,
want to
sir.
hang out in the lobby for a second,
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and close out the show, and I'll see you in a minute.
I'm
Okay.
always hanging out in the lobby.
Cool, buddy. I'll see you in a second, man.
See ya.
Hey guys, again, that was Jeff from Old Line Cryptids. These honestly, go check out their podcast. They're a bunch of good old boys. They do it. They have fun, and they really make you think. And they have some great guests on there. So again, go check them out. The Old Line Cryptids. You guys, again, thank you so much for all the support. Again, I drop stuff new episodes every Wednesday, every Friday. Every Saturday, I do a Saturday night live stream. And then once a month, I do a 2 for Friday, which means I drop 2 episodes on a Friday. And I do a Saturday release, a Saturday episode. And that will have early access for all members of the Cryptid Podcast. Again, you can become a member of the Cryptid Podcast for $2.99. And with that, you get exclusive early access to the Saturday release. You'll have your name entered into a drawing for the next 30 days. So from June 25th, 2025 to July 25th, 2025, you'll be able to get into this hat and watch out for my live stream, which I'll be doing shortly after this episode is done. So, yeah, again, thank you everybody for all the support. If you've had an encounter you'd like to come on the show, go ahead and shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And as my buddy Josh from Mysteries Unknown always says, everybody stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, a legend always starts with a sighting. You guys have a good night, and I'll see you next time.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your